Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday YouTube channel. I am your host, Ryan Hartley. This channel is for heart-centered leaders just like you. I hope our time spent together helps you leave a heartprint where those around you are left better than yesterday. These interview sessions are sponsored by our great friends at Elevate Online Marketing. On episode 209, I welcome back to the podcast self-love expert Gina Swire. Gina joined us on episode 56 back in September 2019. Since then, she's gone on to release her best-selling book, P.S I Love Me. Gina is an internationally acclaimed self-love expert, and she's celebrated for her humorous and transformative speaking style and wildly popular self-love courses. She loves nothing more than empowering women with self-love so they can manifest their deepest desires and create a life of their dreams. Her first book, P.S I Love Me, 12 Steps for a Self-Love Transformation, it shot straight to the top of the bestseller charts. She's also the host of 5-star rated podcast P.S I Love Me and releases new episodes every Wednesday. I'm really looking forward to you hearing this great conversation, episode 209 with Gina Swire. As you've come to know, as you've come to expect from these interview sessions, there's nothing surface level about any of these conversations. And Gina and I, we get deep, we get to the heart of it. In Gina's words, it gets juicy. And I really hope that there's something within this conversation that leaves you a little bit better than you were yesterday. Here we go, episode 209 with Gina Swire. Gina Swire, welcome back to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm buzzing for this.
September 2019 was the first time you joined us. I can't believe how that time has flown. I'd love to catch up on all things in between. I know that when we last spoke, you were talking about the book as a idea, as a creation, and now I have the physical manifestation of that. So I'm looking forward to diving into that. But one of the things you say at the very start, and I'd love to get your perspective on this right away, is you say that your intuition brought you here. Let's assume that that sentence is true for everyone listening to this right now. Their intuition brought them here. What do you mean by that?
Well, every single thing that we do is a series of decisions, of synchronicities, of a million pieces of the universe coming together to bring you to this one particular moment right now. So if a listener is receiving this transmission right now, it is likely they just had like a little pop of inspiration, like, oh, I should listen to Ryan's podcast. Oh, I should listen to this specific podcast. And I honestly believe that there's a reason for all of it.
I've had to learn to surrender to the fact that I may never know why. Like, I think I started out the journey as a mindset coach, student of psychology, and some of the biggest things I've had to try and do, they're not actions, they're not things. It's actually learning how to take less control and surrender. That was the big thing I needed to do to be able to tap into my intuition, tap into my heart, was surrender. We're probably getting into a big topic straight away, but is that something that's kind of featured on your journey?
You are speaking my language. Surrender is, well, last year I had probably the biggest, deepest surrendering of my life. I thought I was pretty surrendered anyway, until this particular moment when I surrendered deeper than I've ever gone before. And everything has been so good to me since then. And it wasn't just one decision in one moment. It was kind of like a new code, a new way of surrendering that's taken me deeper and deeper. And every day I'm choosing it, every moment. I'm choosing it a million moments a day. And sometimes I'm forgetting it. And then I'm like, oh, remember, surrender. So yeah.
Yeah. There's a chapter in your books, Trusting Me, Trusting You, and I can't help but just hear Alan Partridge, aha, in the back of my mind. But there's an element where you link, the importance of trust when it comes to self-love. And And I wonder whether whether that trust needs to be present first for people to learn how to surrender. What do you think? There's a relationship there between surrender and trust?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, chicken and the egg. Is there a
Mm.
relationship between surrender and trust? Absolutely.
Mm.
I don't know if you can surrender without trusting. It is trust. It's
Yeah.
synonymous with trust. And let's see, yeah. And to trust
Mm.
includes surrender. So what's the difference?
Mm. The way I see it, though, because we talked a little bit about my daughter on the show last time. She's 7 now, and I imagine
Oh,
like her being on a platform, me having my hands out saying jump. She can surrender to that instruction, knowing that she trusts me to catch her.
mm,
But it's still a leap of faith. It's still a
hmm
belief in the unseen because she hasn't seen that moment of me catching her yet. And I guess that the way I'm thinking about it as we're speaking is that in that surrender, I'm trusting, whether it be God, whether it be universe, Gaia, that I'm going to be caught.
hmm Yeah. So it's almost like you have the foresight to know that you're going to catch your daughter because
Mm,
you've seen that before, you've done that before, you've got that kind of foresight. So it's almost like because of your absolute certainty,
mm,
she gets to trust you and you co-create that magical catch, which
mm,
is essentially what the universe is doing.
mm, mhm, mhm,
It's it's a co-creation of absolute certainty that the universe is going to catch you, and
mm.
you can surrender and trust in that, and then you catch. Yeah.
I
Love
love that.
that.
I love that. One of the guys I interviewed recently is a parenting expert, and he says that for parents, as a reminder, is that they shouldn't have to earn your love, but they should be able to rest in your love. And I was on the dog walk this morning, knowing that I was going to be talking to you today. I was like, that's the same for ourselves. That's exactly the same for when it comes to self love. Your book, P.S. I Love Me, 12 Steps for a Self Love Transformation. It's not, the one issue I have with the self-love narrative, not yours, but the one of, oh, you just have to love yourself. Why do people think if they've only ever experienced a conditional earthly type of love,
Mm,
that they wouldn't apply the same level of conditions to themselves?
mm.
And I find that fascinating. And yeah, let's get into your book. You talk about Dark Night of the Soul, and that's where the
Oof.
name of the book emerged from. Tell us that story.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I haven't told this story for a while, and I actually told this story last night. I was with a bunch of people and they were asking me about the name of the book. And yeah, I really got to see, like, again, just how magical that was for me. And
Mm,
now when people read the book and they read the story of how I got the name, they often message me and they're like, oh my God. So I was in a dark night of the soul. It was my first real dark night of the soul. So
mm,
I'd woken up, I'd had a few years of just like, wow, I love myself. I love like feeling love, like on this
yeah, yeah.
such a deep level. And then after a few years, it was like I lost it. I was
Mm,
looking in the mirror and I was seeing a fat, ugly,
mm,
disgusting creature. And I was like, what? I've been
mm,
teaching this, I've been
mhm,
writing a book about it. And it's almost like the book was testing me and my situations had changed and astrology had probably
mhm,
changed and,
mhm,
everything changes. And I was struggling. I was actually in bed. I was like sick, but not with anything. It was just like this sickness of the mind. It took me down dark,
mhm,
deep,
mhm,
like dirty. And I was like, holy shit, I really isolated myself. I didn't really
mhm,
tell anyone. I was trying to like get support, but I didn't know how. And I just didn't know what was happening. I was like,
mhm,
oh my God, I'm losing it.
mhm,
And in that period, I was in this book writing course. And part of that was I was to go down to London and meet the publishers.
mhm,
So I went on the train and it took me every bit of energy to get dressed and get on the train. I hadn't left my house in like a few weeks. I got on the train and I was like, angels, this is it. Please help me. Like, give me anything you've got. And I got into this little channel mode, and I was on the train from Manchester to London, and I started writing, and I got all the information for this meeting that I was supposed to have done. So I rock up at the meeting. It was a boiling hot day. I thought I was going to be late. Every train messed up, like everything went wrong. And I arrived, and my agent met me, and she was like, where have you been? I was like, in a dark night of the soul, don't ask. And she's like, are you prepared? And I'm like, yeah. And I looked down, and I'd left my journal on the train, and I was just smashed, devastated. Oh my God, what? That's it. I'm toast. And I was like, okay, angels, please do whatever you can right now. And as I asked for that, I immediately got this download, and it was like, it was synonymous, like P.S. I love you and P.S. I love me was shown to me all at the same time. And I was like, genius, that's it. I just knew. And then I went and did the meeting. They immediately picked up the book. They were like, we want this book. This title is it. It's so unique, and it's such a wordplay. And yeah, I was buzzing. I got on the train, and I was speaking to my friend, and she's like, Gina, do you know what this means? And I was like, yeah, I got my title. And the beauty of this story is that my dad, who passed away a while back, he's my main angel, and his initials are P.S. for Peter Swire. So I was like, oh, there we go. My angel came through.
Love that. That's so powerful. Hey, my friends, thank you for being with us so far. I hope you're enjoying the interview. I just wanted to take a quick moment to let you know about our signature Heartprint coaching. Our Heartprint coaching is for you if you're ready to go all in on becoming a heart-centered leader, ready to go all in on doing more of what you love, ready to see what you are capable of with support, guidance, and accountability. You're ready to go on a rapid, transformational journey that will change your life and others in as little as 3 months. Are you ready to show up with courage and share your gift with the world? Ready to start making an income and more impact by doing what you love? Ready to start leaving your legacy where those around you are left better than yesterday? In our Heartprint signature coaching, in our time together, I'll help you lead from your heart set. I'll help you develop other people and your team. I'll help you bring your heart work to the world. I'll help you start leaving a legacy and capturing examples of your impact. I will help you be someone you love, to do more of what you love, and to serve people that you love. It's an amazing opportunity for someone who's ready to go all in and be a heart-centered leader. I'll throw in loads of other bonuses, including your life languages profile, access to our Master Heart and Mind membership, and even some Always Better Than Yesterday merchandise. Head to abty.co.uk/coaching to find out more, and I look forward to connecting with you very soon. That's abty.co.uk. I was listening to one of your podcasts around the father wound, and I think we share a similar one, and it's interesting to hear some of the effects that had on you. And last year I interviewed a wonderful lady called Maureen Murdoch, and Maureen wrote the book The Heroine's Journey, which is, whether you heard of The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell or on the archetypes. Well, she wasn't quite satisfied that the feminine was represented in that story, and she wrote her own. And one of the stages of the heroine's journey is all about healing the father wound. I guess how I'm sorry that we've leapt to the point of inspiration from father, but I know that there were some challenges that were presented within your life, and I guess how was that manifest for you in your early days growing up, in terms of some of that early wound?
Yeah. So my dad was present, inverted commas, until I was 8. So he was physically there, but whether he was emotionally there, actually, he ran a lot of businesses. He was also having affairs. He was probably energetically all over the place. And yeah, and then when I was 8, he left our family and had a family with another woman. And I think that I made a contract with myself that I'll never ever let a man do that to me. And I became the father in our family. So it was almost like my mom was the wife and I was the husband. And so I became very independent. I got a very strong masculine. I started to earn my own money at like 10 years old. I had my own babysitting enterprise business, my first enterprise at like 12 years old. And yeah, I just took it on myself that I'm going to be the provider. I'm going to earn, I'm going to be the safety, you know, all of that. And it has really served me in a lot of ways. And now I'm really unwinding that. Like this year, my word of the year is being, it's providership in terms of receiving providership, which is, my toes are curled as I say that, Ryan. I'm like, danger.
Yeah. Surrender. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I yeah, that willingness to receive and to rest in. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to jump too far into the benefits or the outcomes of self-love and how that then leaps over into someone in relationship. We'll get to that bit at the end. I'd like to kind of take people through a journey around self-love, and I think people have the toe curling feeling when you say self-love too. I think many people have conditioned themselves out of believing that they're worthy. And I think, you know, you hit them straight. Chapter 1, that it's got nothing to do with worth.
Yeah. Because we're all inherently worthy. You know, we're born worthy. We never say to a baby, prove yourself.
Right.
It's like, no, you're just like a wonderful, innocent, like fresh soul on this planet that can have you want that child to have everything. Same with a granddad, you know, you meet like a 90-year-old man and you're not like, okay, prove to me that you're good enough to deserve love. You're just not going to do that. And yet there's this section in the middle where apparently everyone's trying to prove to someone that they're worthy of love or prove to themselves. And it's actually just not the truth, because worthiness can never be attached to anything that can change.
Right. Let's go. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because one of the for people that haven't listened to the first time you were on, you have a career in modeling. And I think so often of the world in general, not just the beauty fashion industry, is all around appealing to people's lack. By creating demand for their services, they have to make us feel like we lack something in some way.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize it from the very moment they open their eyes. Any marketing, any TV, any adverts, it's always, hey, you don't have this thing. So we get conditioned. We're led to believe everything's outside of us. We don't have it already. Sometimes it's about unlearning that the world has taught us that we are without worth.
Absolutely. And that's honestly, when I quit modeling, that was why, because all of a sudden, I mean, I was going down the yogic path. I was an eco warrior. I was like, let's live off the land. And it just was a direct opposite from the industry I was in, which was all, you know, fabrics being made in China and mass producing. And not just that, but the actual bit, the straw that broke the camel's back was that I was fronting these campaigns that would sell garments that weren't, the garment I was wearing wouldn't be the garment they were selling anyway. It would be a different material. It was completely pinned and, you know, the shape was altered, the photoshopping, the whole team, everything. And, you know, it didn't even look good on me, but I could make it look good. But then I'm selling this to people who are putting this on credit, and you know, they don't feel worthy. So they're over shopping, which I used to do as well. they're just like, get me all of this external, basically fabric that can hide me, can shift the way I feel, can like change the way I look and hopefully make me feel good for 2 minutes, and put it all on credit and take themselves, you know, into dark places. And I was just like, I can't be part of this. I'm done.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Did you use the word temporary, or attach themselves to the temporary? Yeah. I'm reading the Gospel of Mary, which is not your mainstream type of book, and in it, Mary accounts that Jesus said to her that the problem with most people, he doesn't say it like that. He says that people have an attachment to matter, and that in itself is a passion against nature. A passion in those days used to mean suffering. And what I think he was saying is that we are suffering because we are attaching ourselves to people, places, possessions, which is against the true nature, which is like what you said, it is all impermanent.
And I think honestly, that is why, since I mean, I've always been a free soul, you know, all through my modeling career, I was always in different countries. I just loved it. And since I left, like even last year, I was in 12 different countries and different homes. And, you know, I kind of have very few clothes with me, and then I have different friends in different places, and I have different looks in different countries, and, you know, everything's so fluid. And I find that most people, especially in my family, not in my friendship circle, because I usually tend to flock towards those type of people. And yet so many people are just in one place. And so I'm like, how are they doing that? Like, how have I ended up in this I'm like a shapeshifter. And then I speak to friends and they're like, yeah, I'm just in one place. And I'm like, how are you doing this? You know, I just find it fascinating that we can be so different. And it's not that people that are in one place aren't flowing in that space, you know, and changing and shifting and growing. I'm interested.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've, you know, through speaking with many people is that the energy goes either in or it goes out. And what I mean by that is that many people who don't feel like they belong within themselves, that, you know, use the words in your book, I am home. If people don't feel like they are home, they seek it in the world. And then they try and adapt, and almost everything external to them becomes the definition of who they are. And therefore they never feel like they belong anywhere because they're too busy trying to fit in. And I think the opposite then is, well, I already feel like home. I take myself wherever I am. And therefore, whatever I do on the outside simply serves as an expression of who I want to be in that moment.
That was a piece of art. Love that.
Yeah. But what do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, I feel that until I awoke, we'll call it, before pre-awakening, I was definitely like traveling to be busy, to norm out, to, you know, avoid things. You know, I would have these different relationships, and maybe I would be in a relationship and then it wasn't going well. And I'm like, I'm off to New York. See ya. And then I get into another relationship. So I definitely feel in my own journey that I was using travel and moving as numbing and escapism. And then when I woke up and I firmly landed in my body, in myself, now, like you say, home is just wherever I am. Like, I'm home in my body all the time. So when people say, where do you live? I'm like, here in my body and 10 other countries, you know? So yeah, interesting.
12 steps for a self-love transformation. Give us a high-level overview.
It's so interesting because since we spoke, I've been on rather a transformation myself.
But that's the irony, right? That's the irony. Like we're always going on that path, always on that journey of unfolding.
Exactly. Yeah. And about 4 months ago, I went on a retreat in Austin, where I am now. And it's called International School of Temple Arts. And it shifted me 10,000 gears into like a new way of being. And last night I was with some friends from there, and one of the facilitators was sharing that of 8,000 people that have gone through this course, he's like, I can remember word for word your closing share, which was something along the lines of, I've literally written a book about self-love, but I've only just got it this week, exactly what it is. So it's almost like I wrote the book and I'm still growing into it. I'm still learning it. I'm still getting it. And sometimes when I reread it and the 12 steps are it, you know, when I look back, I'm like, wait, I knew that 4 years ago, but I didn't know it now. And it's so fascinating. It's just the gift that keeps on giving to me, you know? Yeah.
But even in your book, you said in your early days, you were bored by this linear idea. So the fact that things aren't linear, it shouldn't be any surprise to you.
Yeah. So when I talk about so my entire business, the 12 steps, my book, my podcast, all my courses, most of my courses are all about self-love, as you know, as we're talking about today. And the 12 steps specifically is my original, I call them the self-love codes from when I woke up. And to give you a high level overview, it's immediately a lot of clearing at the start. It's forgiving yourself, it's letting go, it's basically surrendering. I actually don't really use that word at that point. It's clearing things that don't serve. And then in the middle, we come into kind of like self-talk and how we look at the body and how we look at our life and how we see ourselves. And then as the steps continue, we go more into like manifestation and the future and our passion and our purpose. And now we've shifted a lot of this. What are we here to do? Like, you know, because a lot of women that I work with are doing something that they're not here to do. And they know that, and they're miserable and they're just like out of alignment. And they're these magical creatures who long for this life of service, of like really serving their passion and really serving other people. And the 12 steps takes them into that. So
where do you think they're waiting for permission from?
Well, ultimately themselves. Well, ultimately God, which is themselves. But I give them a permission slip in that to give themselves a permission slip. So it's kind of a mixture. So I think they buy into that I'm going to give them the permission slip at that stage. But I'm actually not. I'm just going to direct them to pick up their own one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like taking off the handbrake, isn't it? I was invited to do a talk in a women's network yesterday, and the title the summit was all about permission and talking about leadership. My title was Permission to Lead. And being a nerd, I went straight to Google, looked at the definitions, and you know the definition of permission is, as you would expect, is to allow something. Then I kept digging, and then the root of the word permit was to make things possible. And I'm like, right, that is where we're going. Forget waiting for someone to allow you, just go and make things possible.
Oof, juicy. I love that.
Yeah. It's the real. So I think that in a lot of the worlds that we operate in, particularly in the coaching manifestation circles, a lot of it is around pursue what you desire. And there's a lot of talk about desire, and I wince a little bit. I'm slightly hesitant because I think there has to be a filter to desire. Because as Sadhguru says, if we're pursuing anything, it first reveals its absence. So if we're desiring stuff, yes, I understand the focus and the energy that might bring to me wanting to show up for that. But the first thing it does is it reveals that I am not that, or I don't have
Absolutely.
that. What's your perspective on the use of desire?
This is a big one. And honestly, this is where my huge surrendering came in last year,
Mm-hmm.
because I had been in this kind of portal. So in 2021, at the end of 2021, I got COVID really bad, and I had a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And not just did I have like COVID, but I then went into I guess another dark night of the soul.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um Went very had a lot of like weird mental things. And
Yeah.
actually now when I look back, I think I had a dark entity
Wow.
attached to me, because it
Mm-hmm.
was like my thoughts were not my own. I was having thoughts that I've never even heard
Mm-hmm.
myself think before, and they were so dark
Mm-hmm.
and miserable and like suicidal, and
Mm-hmm.
like I even thought my mum was trying to kill me at some point. Like, it was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to kind of come out of that and recover from it. And so when I did, I was very much like into all my practices. Everything I was doing was self-care. Basically, I was on this self-care mission. It really worked. And I came back to it, and I was manifesting like crazy. And I got kind of stuck in this way of like how life has to look.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm not available for anything except this. And it was this whole new way of like being. And this included, I wanted this new relationship that had to be like this specific feeling. And I wanted this like new home that had this specific, like everything was about the feeling, which in manifestation is the way to go. And yet nothing was reaching that feeling. So I was like, no, no, no. And I was just in all of this no energy. I was just saying no for like half a year. And I was like, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm losing my touch. Like, I feel like I'm not really manifesting. I feel like I'm not really magnetic, which is my superpowers.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is going on? I was in this like confusion and basically lack. I was in no energy. I was in lack. I was just seeing everything I didn't have, thinking I'd lost the plot. And then the surrendering came one day in just a very simple meditation. I was in LA with my friend, and we're like, let's meditate. So we sit down, we're meditating, and I got this like, horrible, like dark, like feeling. And I've been feeling so good. And I was like, don't really want to go into this, but I guess I'm available. So I went into it. And as I just let myself feel it, I was shown I can either keep up with this, like, I guess like super high standards and then be in lack, or I can surrender it all, know that God has my order, and surrender the attachment to the outcome. And then in doing that, I just get to enjoy, excuse me, I just get to enjoy the gifts of life. And what I surrendered that day was so painful and hard to do. I surrendered ever being in love again. I surrendered ever being married, ever being a mother, ever making my millions, ever like all the things on my vision board. I basically I was like, you know what? If I never get any of that, can I be fully here, present in this moment with what I have? And I was like, fuck yeah. Like, my life is fucking awesome. Yeah, I like claimed my own presence.
Yeah.
And I guess it takes us back to The Power of Now, which was one of my OG books like 10 million lifetimes ago, and takes me back to my yogic days and, you know, very simple presence practices. And that for me has been the surrender. And it's not that I don't want those things, but if I never get them, so it is. And
Comes
then
back to
guess what?
trusting.
Guess what happened that week, Ryan?
Yeah, go on.
Everything that I hadn't been manifested in like 1 week. It was like the universe had backdated these things. So immediately, I'd not even been asked on a date in 6 months. That week after I had this huge surrendering, I went on 9 dates and I didn't ask for any of them. Like the universe was like, here. And some of them, even just to like really illustrate this point, a guy that I'd met 3 months before, we'd not even spoken, that week was like, I met you at Burning Man and I just couldn't take my eyes off you. And I'd love to take you out. And I'm like, what? Like, why didn't you say that 3 months ago? But it's like, I had to be in this surrendered frequency to be a match to these things, you know?
You know, it feels, I guess, passive. You know, everything feels like I need to proactively do something. And I struggle with that, walking that paradox of surrender plus action. But one of the best examples I've heard of it, and you know, you mentioned the fact that God is, you know, self and God. I was watching a documentary on Gaia the other day. I think it was called The Moses Code, and it was talking about how when Moses was just having a chat with God, who's just this burning bush, and God says, "You're going to be the leader. You're going to pull everyone out," and he's like, "What, me? No chance. Like I can't do that." And then, but what it kind of concludes is that whether that Moses felt worthy enough or not, what he was willing. And in his willingness, he surrendered his ego and allowed the full expression of God to manifest through him.
Yeah, that feels very accurate to what happened to me that
right
day. Accurate.
It's like, Gina, stick your ego over there. I'll work through you. And I guess this is where it comes to trust. Whatever is meant for you shall not pass.
Exactly. Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm just really reliving that moment right now. And just the freedom that comes in the presence. And just getting to trust. This was the big thing for me, that like I can hook things, like I can find things, I can hook things, I can claim things, I can manifest things, I can magnetize things. But the universal power has the master plan, you know, has the power to bring something that I don't even know I want yet. You know, I don't even have the capacity to know it's there.
But let's take that example. You meet him at Burning Man several months before. So that magnetism wasn't made possible until you were on that frequency. And I guess what that means is that your manifestation, or anyone's manifestation, is not bound by time and space, meaning it is not out there, away from me, and in the future. Because as soon as you were on the right frequency, you manifested through who you were being in this very moment.
Absolutely. And this is key in manifestation, because I remember in my early days of manifestation, when I was a new model, and I was like, right, I'm going to manifest getting signed in New York. And I was like, I didn't have actually like the experience yet, but I was like, well, manifestation doesn't matter. It doesn't matter with experience. I'm going to manifest it. And I went to New York and I had the meeting and I just flunked it. They didn't sign me. And I was like, maybe manifestation doesn't work, but I was still like, yeah. And then anyway, I went traveling in South America. And when I came back, I had this feeling. I was like, oh, I was on a very different frequency, having traveled in South America. I was kind of in this fuck it. Let's just do this year of modeling. Like, let's just see, let's just go big and see what happens. And I got a meeting immediately. My agent was like, you need to be back tomorrow. We've got a very important meeting for you. So I fly in straight from the plane. I go into the London office and it's this same agent from New York. And I'm like, I met these ones and they said no, but I think they're going to say yes this time. And I meet them and they asked to meet me and they signed me on the spot. And it just shows like I'd shifted my frequency to be a match to that and immediately got signed for the thing I wanted. It just happened to be a year later. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I think a number of the things that we've talked upon are on, some of the 12 steps. And I guess one of the things that you do in your book really well is you've got pages for reflection, activities, some hacks and some tips. On this one specifically, raising that frequency, raising that vibration, what are your kind of go-tos for yourself?
Well, simple things.
Yeah.
Working out, sleeping really well, nutrition. Honestly, like they're my old school biggest saboteur pattern. Like when I'm wanting to manifest something big or I can feel it getting close, I used to sabotage myself with those. And just start doing stupid stuff. So that's a big one for
Late
keeping the
night
frequency
parties
high.
by the sounds of it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Well, again, all these things are pretty simple. Gratitude. If you're looking to be in manifestation energy, just amp up your gratitude practice. And the frequency of joy is my favorite thing. So for me personally, if I want to manifest, like if I'm in a launch, I'm not like, what can I do? What can I do? I'm out in the world telling people about my joy of serving people. And then guess what? But I was in an Uber the other day and the Uber driver joined one of my courses because I was just like, I was doing a story on my phone about my course. And she's like, can I ask about this? And I'm like, absolutely. It's like, there you go. The joy frequency.
I agree with that. And I think one of the things from a intellect-driven world is that people go, okay, right, I'll write my gratitudes if I have to. I'm writing these 5 things down. I'm looking around. Okay, I guess I might put my house. I might put my food, and I ought to put this, and I guess I should put that. And
it's
like
not gonna do it.
Exactly, because even like the bit in you talk in your book around the self-talk, it's supposed to be felt. That gratitude list is better felt than it is intellectually listed.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as I'm doing gratitude or manifestation or any of these practices, I'm like, oh, where do I feel that in my body? Oh, what does that feel like? And often it feels like I can feel it right now. I can feel like just champagne bubbles going up and down my body. And it's like, woo. And that's manifestation energy. It's also the same energy we cultivate to become multi-orgasmic or like a multi-millionaire. To all of these things, it's cultivating that energy and the energetics of what you want now in your body, and you're a match to it.
For what you've just said, where do people go on your website to get more of that?
More orgasms.
More, yeah. What are they signing up for?
Where do we sign up to that? Well, I do have a course called Multi-Orgasmic AF, and that is for women who want to basically learn about holding the energy of an orgasmic life. And honestly, this is what I'm talking about. So my business used to be very much about self-love, and it still is. And yet I teach now self-love through orgasm and through money energetics and through plant medicine. And I use these kind of different techniques. So it's like self-love's older sister. That's how it feels. Yeah.
How do we, you and I think the byproduct of the work that we do is we leave people better for life. We'll leave them better. They'll go off and impact. So I said something yesterday that says the true beneficiaries of our work are not our clients. It's everybody who interacts with our clients. Like
Yeah.
these women are going to come and have orgasmic experiences. They're probably going to go back better for everybody that they serve, whether that be their family, their friends, their business, their community. How do we keep self-love and the purity of it, and try and avoid just a following of self-centered people?
Mm. It's a good question. Well, honestly, I don't attract self-centered people
Hmm.
because self-centered people are not really trying to do this work, you know?
Right.
Self-centered people, if they try to just get the result, they
Hmm.
just don't want to do the work
Hmm.
and they just fall out very quickly. So it doesn't really happen. Like, I think it's the transmission, the frequency that we put out
Mm.
is a match to people who are very heart-centered.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, so even if people do come in and think this is a quick fix, they immediately see like, oh, actually, no, this feels really
Hmm.
good when I
Hmm.
do this. And then they're like, oh, there's more. And honestly, that was what happened to me. I
Yeah.
didn't start personal development to do this work. I had no idea what I was doing.
Mhm,
I just
mhm.
wanted to look good.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was for those reasons. I was a narcissist back
Mhm,
then. I just wanted to be better than everyone. I
mhm,
wanted to be the best model. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to beat the competition.
mm,
And then I stumbled across all of this and I was like, oh, actually, this is it. This is better.
yeah,
So I guess I was like self-centered and selfish
mm,
back then.
mhm.
And I didn't really know any better. And also, obviously, that's not our true state. That
Yeah.
comes from a lot of fear and pain.
Mhm.
And once I unwound that, I found all of this.
Yeah.
So
I ran a men's group for the first time, but at the back end of last year, and one of the so it was a group for fathers, and in one
wow.
of the weeks it was all about how we could become better teammates, better for our partners, and this is I think, without skirting around, I think love looks and feels differently to men and women. I think there is a difference. And I think that when a man feels love for who he is, he will naturally want to improve himself. So often women might want to try and change a man because they can see his potential, but it's in that loving him who he is. There's something that says about men don't fear being changed, they fear being unloved.
Mm,
And being changed feels unloving because it feels unaccepting of who they are in that moment. But
hmm
we had this session and it was all about, okay, right, how do we as men understand our own needs, our own values and our needs? So we went through a journey of self discovery, self awareness, so that we could communicate that better to our partners. But I resisted the, hey, here's now your playbook to go and tell your partner all that what you want. I said, before you share any of that, go and ask her hers. Go and ask her what makes her feel loved. Go and ask her what makes her feel stressed. Go and ask her, how can I help you when you feel stressed? Go with the heart of serving, and then you might then gain the opportunity to share how she might serve you in return. But we're never going to do the work and then go, hey, here's all my needs and this is how I now need you to serve me. And I guess that's where my question came from, is the self-centered. I've now learned about my needs and I need you to meet them.
Wow. Well, firstly, I want to acknowledge you for this amazing, powerful work that you're doing with
Oh,
dads.
thank you.
I love that. It feels so good to know that people are out there doing that powerful work and supporting men in that way. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, they loved it. They loved it. And do you know what? Some of the feedback after week one is men don't talk like this. Men don't have
hmm
spaces like this. And I've been running groups for a long time. You came and spoke to my group a couple of
Yeah.
years back. You know that the majority of them are women. The conversations look and feel very different.
hmm Yeah.
And, for any man that's listening that is thinking about getting involved in some form of conversation, it ain't always sitting around talking about your feelings. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just listening to a brother and hearing his challenges and supporting him in his conquest, knowing that he's not alone.
Yeah. Just witnessing. Yeah. Yeah. powerful stuff. Yeah, my partner, he has a one-to-one coach, and he's like, I just prefer doing it one-to-one, because in groups, he's been in different brotherhood things, he's always like, he doesn't love it. So I do think there's different, it can be different. So if there's any men listening and they're like, I just don't want to speak in a group, then get a one-to-one coach and do it one-to-one. Don't be like, I'm not doing any of it ever, because it's talking about feelings. So yeah, I do think there's a little piece there as well.
But do the work, right? I think that's the
Yeah.
underline. It's do the work. And I think one of the things that I like, at the very end of your book, there's this section called "Turn Your Trauma into Dharma." What's that all about?
Yeah. Well, whatever happens to us, and we all have trauma. I used to think I didn't have any trauma because I hadn't had any like of the big like headline kind of trauma things. And yet then when I learned more, of course, we have all these micro traumas, and as children, we don't know the difference between like something that seems like really out there and something that is just like being left in losing your mum in the supermarket or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like my trauma, I guess, was that my dad left. And now that is my biggest gift, because it has given me so much resilience. It's given me so much, even the fact, one thing that I realized is that my dad always craved the love of his mother. He was very close to his dad, but not to his mum. And in him leaving, I got what he never had with my mum. So I got the thing that he always wanted. And whether it's conscious or subconscious, I'm guessing this is very subconscious. It's like a reframe. He stepped out. I have like an amazing bond with my mum, like unfuckwithable bond with my mum. And yeah, it gave me that. So rather than looking at what I didn't have, I turned it into my dharma, as in now that's what I teach. I teach from that place. Like I doubt that I would have created everything that I've created if I didn't have this motivation of like, I'll never let a man provide for me, because it's helped me create all of this. And now I get to like go the other way. So yeah, it's just a gift, even though it cannot feel like a gift at the time.
Yeah, you and I share a very similar story, and that I love reading the acknowledgement section of books. And Peter Swire, P.S., he's the top listed one. There's a lot of love and admiration for the man. You talk about him being your biggest cheerleader. Tell me about that side of the man.
Yeah, well, even now in my business, he's my mentor, even though he's been dead for like over a decade. I don't even know how it happens, but I'll just be like, what should I do here? And it's like, I can hear his voice being like, Gina, this is business. Like, yes, you want to be this. Yes, you want to be that. But have you thought of it this way? And I'm like, how is he still telling me these things now? It's like, he is me. He's in me. He's part of me. I look at my hands. My hands look like my dad's. And I'm like, whoa, he's here, Yeah. So I get like, also he was really, really a free soul, a free spirit. And he used to travel, and he would do these bonkers car rally things from like he drove from Manchester to Bombay and Panama to Alaska. And I was just a kid, and I was fascinated then, but now I'm older, I'm like, wow, who does that? He was like an interesting soul. And I think I got a lot of that from him. And if I just, a big part of this is that I woke up when he died. Like I was with him when he died, and him passing woke me up. I got to see like spirit. And so I've done all this work since he passed, and a lot of it I would love to discuss with him, and it's not my journey. Although ayahuasca, I don't know, have you been there?
I've heard. I'm doing a lot of listening to it. It's closer.
Yeah. So I've had all these conversations through
Yeah.
that medicine.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a
Can we
whole
can,
different story.
can we talk about that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What is ayahuasca for those who don't know?
It is the leaves and vine of two different plants. Well,
Mhm,
traditionally two plants, sometimes they add in other plants.
mhm,
It comes from, well, it grows in a bunch of countries, usually in South America. Peru is the classic.
mhm,
It also grows in Bali now. It grows in many different places. And you drink this kind of ancient wisdom plant and it makes you trip, and it releases DMT in your brain, which is the same
mhm,
thing that releases when you're born and when you die. So
mhm,
that thing of like your life flashes before you, you get to see where you went wrong and where you went right and how it was all love and it none of it meant anything and it all meant
mm,
everything. You
mm,
get to see that, but now.
mm.
And this plant is said to have like all of this wisdom. And I agree. So when you drink it, it can sort of take you back to a moment in time that maybe I didn't even think was important.
Mhm.
And it will show me it either through picture, through feeling, through words, through sensation. It's weird. You just kind of see it in lots of different ways. And it can completely like heal and change the trajectory of your life.
Mm.
It's fascinating stuff. And each ayahuasca journey, and I've been there a lot, like probably
Mhm,
20 journeys,
mhm,
every single one's different.
mhm.
They all activate different things within you. Yeah,
How long do they
it's a
last?
whole world. Um,
Earthly time?
between whew, 6 million lifetimes,
Yeah.
between 4 and 10 hours. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, it's really quite incredible. And if people are called that are listening, I don't recommend this to anyone. You know,
Mhm.
it is, if you feel
Yeah.
really called to this,
Mm,
um do your research, use your discernment, you know, do it
mm,
somewhere legal. Yeah, and just, you know, meet the people, you really use your intuition. The first time I did it was 7 years after I heard about it.
mhm,
So I'd been
mhm,
hearing about it and I was like, I'm interested, but it's not right. And then immediately it was right. And I think I did it like the next day.
mhm,
I just
mhm.
knew. Yeah.
Great caveats. I have a word here I always better than yesterday. It's called Heartprint. And it kind of stems from my time at the police where we used to teach detectives the Locard's exchange principle. It's this idea that every contact leaves a trace. So they would train the detectives, go think about fingerprints. Where might the offender have left of something of themselves at the scene? And I think we need to teach leaders that principle because every contact leaves a trace. We leave people
Mm.
better or worse. Do we leave people better than we found them? And the the spirit of the word heartprint for me is possibility. And you always come back to this sense with self-love. Anything is possible. Gina, you've helped thousands and thousands of people. You're going to go on to help thousands and thousands of people, 1 billion people in your lifetime. What do you think your heartprint will be?
Mm. Oof. It's a big question. Let's see. Mm. Well, as you're asking me that, I'm seeing like ripples and I'm seeing schools changing and I'm seeing people's mindsets changing. I'm seeing what they see in the mirror changing. I'm seeing kind of like an upward spiral and a downward spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And where we were going was this downward spiral of like I explained at the start, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the woman at home feeling shitty, going on ASOS and buying the clothes and spending all the money and going into depression and feeling low and it not really working and why
Mm-hmm.
confusion. And then the opposite, which is what I my essence, what I teach, what I impart is the opposite. It's like, and you as well, you know, what we do, all the practices, all the gratitudes, it's all taking us higher, and it's connecting us, and it's heart-centered, and it's passion, it's purpose, it's possibility, it's living an orgasmic life, it's using these sacred plants in the most incredible, legal, amazing way, and moving up into a whole new way of being. And self-love, some people think is selfish, but ultimately I think it's like a macroeconomic hack. It's the answer. It's what we need to move into this new way. And if everyone takes responsibility, we will be that. We already are it, you know? And
The
it's
gift
like,
that keeps on giving.
which do we want? We get to choose in ourselves. And because we are God, because we are the globe, and when you drink ayahuasca, it will show you the entirety. If you go there with this psychedelics, you get to see how we are the creator of our own universe. And so if we create heaven on earth inside of us, we are that already. And if everyone does that, we're it, you know? It's amazing.
I love that. Thank you for coming back on the show. I'd love it if you leave us a final thought from your good self.
A final thought. Let's see what wants to be spoken. Okay. So I believe that humans are addicted to low level thoughts, the lower chakras, misery, pain, guilt, fear, just lack, whatever. And the antidote to that is joy. Joy is the frequency of the heart. Anytime we enjoy something, we really let ourselves enjoy it. We go look for joy. We put a joyful song on. We dance with a kid. We get a puppy. I know you've got a puppy as well. We just give ourselves joyful things. Like even my pink nails, I'm like, this is so joyful for me right now. Go be joy. And that is the antidote. And that is self-love.
Love that. I can continue talking to you for another half an hour, but I'm not going to do that. We'll have to do it again in the future. Gina, appreciate you. GinaSwire.com, coaching, retreats, book, podcast, all the good stuff, all in the show notes. Until next time, my friend, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ryan. You're amazing.
Thank you for making it to the end of the interview here on YouTube. I hope that our time spent together has left you a little bit better than before you push play. Before you go anywhere, please leave a comment down below, some of your key reflections, your key takeaways. I love hearing from you and what this conversation has inspired in you. Let me know what you're going to do as a result of this conversation. I will be back next Wednesday where I will share another inspiring guest. To make sure that you don't miss that, please do subscribe, hit the bell, and you will be notified as soon as it goes live. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organization, please do visit alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com, and it will be my honor and privilege to help you in any way I can. Keep leading, my friends. I've been Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast here on YouTube. Always love.